Hello there everyone, welcome back to another video about the One Piece card game. Unfortunately this is going to be a bit of a negative one. I've overcome the anger stage and now I'm just in straight disappointment. Because Bandai have managed to somehow year on year not improve on the system they were using, but actually make it worse. So for those of you who don't know what this is about the One Piece Championship Finals, which I'm going to explain what all that is and why it was a total disaster. If you are interested in more One Piece card game content, please do subscribe, like this video if you agree with what I'm saying here, and if you disagree, do let me know why in the comments. I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts and perspectives. Maybe you can get into the mind of Bandai and make me understand why they're doing things the way they are in a way that is actually quite reasonable. So I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. Let's go ahead and get started with, firstly, what are we talking about here? So this is the One Piece Championship 2024 Finals. So this is basically your road to Worlds. So I don't think the schedule is actually on this page, but basically you can see here that depending on the event you get to, if you get first or second place here, or if you're American, third for some reason, you get to go to the World Championship. Now, for those of you who did not see what happened with the last World Championship, the amount of money we're talking about here is absolutely unreal. You know, if you manage to get to Worlds, you're probably looking at about 6 figures of prize payout, like just from the finals level. When you get to Worlds, you're going to get a set of Don cards, which you're probably worth about 20k on its own. You're also going to get a playmat, you're going to get some sleeves. That's probably worth another 5k or so. Because they are so limited. So you're looking at, you know, literally $125,000, right? Like just straight up. That is life-changing money, right? Like that is actually life-changing money. That is paying off all your debt. That is putting a down payment on a house. That is like being able to have investments and savings and like change the way you do things. That's having like stability. It's seriously like a huge deal. So I think like, you know, as much as Bandai can't acknowledge that these cards are worth so much, and I understand why they can't from a business perspective, it's inviting a lot of regulatory scrutiny on the whole industry, which I think all these card game companies are smart enough to realize none of us want. You have to be aware of it in the back of your mind when you're planning these things. So why is this an issue? And I think the first thing we have to get to, and I'll come back to this in a moment, the first thing we have to get to and understand is, if you look at what every other Western, let's look at Western card games, right? If we look at the way they structure these things, there are various levels of qualifier. Often there are point-based systems. So I'm going to take a couple of examples, right? I'm going to take a small example, which is Bushiroad. Bushiroad is probably the smallest TCG company that has been around for a long time, right? Like they've been around for like 10 plus years. They've been doing Worlds for like, you know, 5-6 years. So they've been doing it for long enough, but they're pretty damn small. You know, the Worlds is, you know, the player base has grown and shrunk, and it's probably at a smaller level right now. And they have a similar system to Bandai, where you need to place very, very highly at a specific qualifier series of events. But if you look at how many events Bushiroad do, they do something like 10 to 20 per region, depending on the region, right? Like at least 10. And you don't need to win that. You need to come in the top 3. And the winner obviously will get their pay airfare and all that sort of stuff. But second and third earn a ticket, and they have to pay their own way there. And that's a much better system, firstly, because it means a lot more people get to go. It means it's not literally all on the line for, you know, that one match all at the very, very end. And it's a much better system. So that's something Bandai don't do. You literally just have to win. Okay, so that's just one comparison. So even a company that's tiny, has way less money in this than Bandai, far less successful games, understands that fundamentally we can't be doing this only the first place thing. Now, my theory for why Bandai do this is for some reason they think they need to pay for everyone to get out there. They don't understand that, no, you can just give people an invite. They will pay to go. I guarantee you, if you gave the top 512 of everyone in a region an invite and was like, all you have to do is pay your way to get here, you would probably get about 511 going. So I think that's a bad argument if that's what Bandai's thinking, right? They need to get out of that. The next comparison I'm going to make is Pokemon. I think this is a good comparator because Pokemon is the biggest game in the world. It's not even close. and it's also a Japanese card game, so we can see the comparison there. And Pokemon has a point-based system, so as you go to various different levels of Pokemon events in their organized play program, and this is everything from like their local level tournaments all the way to the massive, international cups, you earn points that get you to Worlds. And it is not that hard to get to Worlds. If you are engaged in the game and you are going to a good number of events, you will qualify for Worlds. Pokemon Worlds is like thousands of people. It's a huge thing. And of course, they have various different divisions. They have the video game division, they have the TCG division. So I understand that like the scale of Pokemon Worlds is not something that One Piece is up to yet. But it's a blueprint, right? Like Pokemon have had a long time to figure this out, and clearly it works. So they would be the first people I looked at if I was like a Japanese card game company looking to develop. And finally, I'm going to go with a really recent example, which is Star Wars Unlimited. This is a brand new card game from a company that has had a very bad track record with how they've managed organized play. And even they understand, like, no way, we can't do this like how we used to. So what the way the Star Wars Unlimited system works is you have 3 different tiers of qualifiers for Worlds, all of which will get you an invite to Worlds. And it's on point-based system as well. And the lowest tiers, like about 128 player events, 64 to 128, that's like a local level event. Then there's like the regionals, and then there's like the sort of continental level. And you can and they go on like a rotation of every 4 months or so, because that's when each set comes out. And if you look at the number of people who, I mean, we haven't had a Star Wars Unlimited Worlds yet, so of course, relatively pinch of salt, we need to see it go all the way through. But if you look at that, winning that local level event is enough to get you enough points to get you to Worlds, straight up. So they're clearly looking at like a significantly large Worlds, right? Like, 500 to 1,000 players minimum, probably like 1.5 to 2K. It's a 3-day event as well, so they have the capacity for that. And I think that blueprint is very much based on the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour, which I haven't even begun to talk about the Pro Tour, but the point is, I think with this sort of opening section here, is there is a lot of very, very good comparisons we can draw to other card games to understand why Bandai is, to try and go like, okay, well, why is Bandai doing this? They, either when you're doing something differently, you see something no one else sees, or you're a fucking idiot. And frankly, I think they're a fucking idiot. So let's go ahead and now that you have that background of what other companies are doing, and we understand that this is the Bandai system, where you need to go to these nats, these One Piece nats, and you have to win, basically, or come second or third in a few of them. If we actually run the numbers, it is so much harder to get into One Piece Worlds that it's almost a joke, right? This is not a best of 3 game, so you can't make the Yu-Gi-Oh comparison where but the Yu-Gi-Oh Worlds is really similar. Well, it's not best of 3, right? Like, Yu-Gi-Oh is best of 3, and say whatever you will about that, but fundamentally, best of 3 is more skillful than best of 1. That is just a fact. It is not up for dispute. If you think it isn't, I'm not going to entertain that. And also, if you look at the odds, right, like when we're comparing this to like Bushiroad events, for example, like Bushiroad, I think like most of the time you are dealing with 256 or less, right? So yes, okay, maybe you have to win, but it's 256 players. So your odds are literally 4 times better minimum than with One Piece. If you look at what it was last year, the Utrecht Finals was 2,500 players and 2 people got to go to Worlds. That is ridiculous by any measure, right? You had to make finals of a 2,500 person event. Come on, right? Like, what is this? It's a joke. And I've had all this stuff ranting, right, talking about the tournament format, but actually, they managed to somehow do an even worse job. So if we go back here, right, and I want to talk about the fact that you had to get in, right? So it's reasonable to expect that there's going to be a high demand for this sort of scale of event. But if we look here, and I'm just taking a post by Roberto Rondino here because he's a very good player, and he basically says what I'm saying. There were 5,000 unique entries for 3, not 2, tournaments of 1,000 players each for the European finals. And Europe has it better than America in terms of the number of events we're getting. But of course, in Europe, you don't have to qualify for them. So there were 5,000 entries, of which many were outside the European region. Now, I have no issue with that in principle, but so many players I know who are European did not get selected to participate in the European finals when I know Americans who did. And it's just, and these are Americans who also have an invite to their finals in America, right? Because that's the one that they are going to want to go to. They, they can't qualify for Worlds in Europe, but they can in America. So they can use this as a testing ground. They can farm the entry, right? And it's an absolute joke. And you know, like if there was a capacity thing where, okay, well, we've managed to give every European player who has applied a seat, and now we can move on to the Americans, I'd have no issue with this. But that's not what happened. It's really, really bad. And actually, if we go onto my profile, I'm going to show you something that is, you should follow me, by the way, that it's absolutely insane. If it's just going to take a moment to load here, but no, I think I retweeted it. But it's a tweet from a okay, right, it'll be on Roberto's profile. It's a tweet from Rail Zero, who got second place at Worlds last year, right? One of the best players in the world, unequivocally. No matter what we say about, you know, how much luck there is in getting there, fundamentally, you got second place at Worlds, you are good. There is no way to dispute that. This is the top 10 players in Europe this season based on points, right? 5 of them got into Nats, 5 of them didn't. Why are people who clearly care about this game a huge, huge, huge amount, are grinding it constantly, are putting in the effort, are seeing the results, not getting into Worlds? This makes absolutely no sense. Sorry, you can't see number 10 there, which is Hanno Hugschläfer, sorry, Hugelschaefer. I apologize for my pronunciation. Yeah, he didn't get it either. So this is an absolute joke, right? Like, what a disaster. So the way this worked is Bandai put in like a Google form, and you just got to sign up. And there's no guarantee that if you didn't get into one of these, you are going to be able to go to Utrecht, which is the last one. And there's no penalty for, you know, there's no downside, right, for all the other people applying who can like just flood it with applications because they're like, well, yeah, I might, if I get to go, cool. It's a chance to practice, a chance to get all this cool prizing, and maybe I can't qualify for Worlds, but realistically, I'm not going to anyway. But I can potentially get day 2 prizing, which is worth a shitload. And it's just an absolute joke. Awful, awful system by Bandai, and they need to fix it. Because it's stuff like this that makes people want to quit the game, right? To take the personal standpoint from me, right? Like, I've been playing competitive card games for like 10 years. I'm good at them. I know I am. You know, I've gone to Worlds twice. I've topped like 20-something events, like top 8, right? Like 20-something events. I know I'm good at card games. Now, have I had the amount of time to grind One Piece that I would like? No. But I could make it work. I just don't have the motivation, because if you sit there and you look at what it's like to grind One Piece, it is soul crushing. It is a best of one game. So you look at these top players and they will have multiple tournaments where they will bubble or they will go X4, right? And that's a good score, but fundamentally that luck, it goes in that way sometimes, and it is what it is. Or they'll make top cut and they will see their worst matchup immediately, right? Okay, let's say you're happy with that, you get through it, and you know, you can live with that. You have to get into the events at all, and these events are often nowadays, because there's just not enough. There's too much demand. They're on a raffle system, so even no matter how much you're grinding, you might not get in at all, or the tickets sell out in the first couple of minutes. And then to add like the cherry on top of this shit cake, you might not even get into the finals. Half the top players in Europe didn't get into, but I know people who've literally never played the game before and were like, well, I'll apply, and if I get in, I'll learn it, who did. And I'm just like, that's crazy, right? Like, how are we in a situation where those people are getting in and the top players in Europe are not? And it's top down. It's a system that just says we don't care about your experience as a player. We don't respect your time, and frankly, we don't care because it's going to sell out anyway. And this is the fundamental problem. Bandai doesn't give a shit because they don't have to. Who cares if the top players are pissed off? Seriously, who cares, right? Because, okay, they don't go, well, it's fine. Someone else is going to go. Someone else is going to get to Worlds. Someone else is going to make life-changing money. Someone else is going to win. Doesn't have to be these guys. Who gives a shit, right? You know, as far as Bandai's concerned, the events are capping. The game is selling more and more every day. The player base is growing more and more every day. They are able to report year-on-year growth to their investors. Why try? Why upend your whole system and like give your players a better experience? I'll tell you why. It's because by the time it gets bad enough that players start quitting, you're not going to get them back, and they're going to start quitting a lot faster. I'm not saying this is the death knell for the One Piece card game, right? I mean, realistically, like, this game is here for at least 3 more years. It's not going anywhere. It is so successful. So much money is being made out of this game. and every event is capping. The thing that's going to be telling is when the events stop capping, because at that point things are too far gone, right? You're going to have this huge knock-on effect. I'm going to be watching very, very closely. I was saying this was like a personal sort of thing. I haven't been motivated to grind tournaments in One Piece because of how soul-crushing the experience is, right? Like, you know, I didn't really have time to go to a lot of the in-person ones. They're so expensive. I have to basically get lucky and hope I actually get into them, and then I need to have enough time to actually test that given format. And it's just shit, right? Like, it's actually just shit. I don't know. I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. But from my perspective, this is a total disaster. It's unmitigated, and Bandai need to do better. And I'm throwing this video up there because I'm hoping to start a conversation. So let me know what you guys think here. I didn't really touch massively on the fact that people are like, America is it's the sort of protected region where only Americans can actually get into American events. But that's a serious issue. Why is there that special treatment? If Americans can get into European events, Europeans should be able to get into American events, and vice versa. You need to just have equity across the board, which is a whole other separate issue. And don't get me started on the treatment of Europeans versus Americans when it comes to the tournaments we get. For some reason, Americans get store level championships that qualify them for Nats, that get them Nats level prize cards. But you know what? Whatever. Clearly, America is the priority for Bandai, so it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sorry this is a bit of a rant video. I hope this has been helpful to explaining what's basically gone on and why things need to change. I'd love to say I'll see you at Nats. Unfortunately, I didn't get a ticket. But you can rest assured I would have been just as pissed off even if I did, because half my friends didn't either, and half the top players in the bloody world didn't. So, it's ridiculous. Second place in the world didn't get it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next one, which will hopefully be slightly more upbeat. And I'll see you then. Cheers.